Welcome to today's lecture. In this lecture, again, we are going to see a few more distance measures. So this is the agenda for the today's class. So we'll briefly have the recap of what we did in the last class. And we'll see two new distance measures today, quadratic form distance and Mahalanobis distance. Quadratic form distance we have already started yesterday, but we'll again start afresh and discuss that also from the beginning. So let us first have the quick recap of what we did in the last class. So in the last class we defined these distance measures. We defined Euclidean distance, we defined city block distance, we defined chessboard distance, and the formula that we you see here, they are just for 2D, but we saw that how to extend this for a ND case, right? We define this with the help of LP-norm. We saw that using LP-norm, all these distance measures can be defined, and they can be defined for a n-dimensional vector, or sorry, I mean k-dimensional vector. The notation that we are using for dimension is k. So let us be consistent. So using the LP-norm, you can define the k-dimensional feature vectors. I mean the distance between the k-dimensional feature vectors, and we also extended the definition of Euclidean distance to normalize Euclidean distance, and we discussed that whenever we find that the features that we are using in our feature vector, they are not lying in the same range. One feature is lying in let's say a narrow range, other feature is lying in a wider range. Then in that case, we do not just consider the values of the features and then compute the distance between the feature vectors. First, we normalize the individual feature values, and then only we use them for the distance comparison or distance calculation. So in this example, if you see, I mean, this same matrix that we used yesterday, we are representing n objects using k-dimensional feature vectors. So now you can assume that the first dimension that you are using here is representing feature x1. Okay? Now, when feature x1 is for the first object, we are just appending one after it. So x11 is basically feature x1 for first object. X2 is feature x2. X21 is feature x2 for first object. X31 is feature x3 for the first object, and so on. So all the features that you see in this column, they all are for first object. Now, collectively, we can say that all the values that you see here, all of them represent first feature for different objects. Similarly, the second one, you can say that this one, all these features here, they represent second feature for all the objects, and so on. So you can name those features as x1, x2, x3, x4, but for different objects, the values of x1, x2, x3, they are different. For example, for first object, the value of x1 is x11. For the second object, the value of x1 is x12, and so on. All right. So now, when we are talking about the normalized Euclidean distance, we will not use these x1, x2, x3, xk directly. We will first normalize these values, and then we will use them. I mean, like in the distance computation. Now, how to normalize those values? So for normalization, we saw this formula. Where x prime, the new value for xi, was obtained by subtracting the mu I for that particular dimension divided by the variance. So how will you, let's say in this formula, you have to calculate x1 prime. So how will you calculate x mu1? So mu1 is nothing but the average of all these values that you see in for all these objects with respect to the first dimension. Okay, so if you just take the average of all these values that you see here in this particular area, all these values, if you just sum them and divide them by n, you will get the mu. And similarly, by using all these values, you can calculate the variance. The formula for variance and mu mean we are going to see in today's lecture also, but I guess this also you must have done in your school days, so you know the formula, right? So to get mu1 and sigma 1, we will use the values that are here. To get mu2 and sigma 2, we will use the values which are here, and so on. And then by using those values, we can normalize the vectors. So now, if you have to, let's say, compare object 1 with the test sample, what we will do? We will normalize the feature vector of the object as well as the feature vector that we are going to get from the test sample, and then we will compare them. This is very important to remember. It is not that you are going to normalize these values, you are also going to normalize the feature vectors that you are going to get from the test sample, because if you directly use the values from the test sample, they will be in their original domain, right? Like the example that we considered, height and weight. So if you originally measure the weight, it will be again in the range of 30 to, let's say, 60 or 70. But before using that also, we have to normalize, right? So please remember, whenever you are going to compare any training sample with the test sample also need to be normalized. And obviously, we are going to, when you are going to keep these values in the memory, we are normalizing them, and then only we are going to store them. Okay. Fine. One more thing, let's just discuss here. So if you see here, with respect to, let's say, city block distance, and let us say the distances are computed for this 2D points here. So now you see that this particular point, and let's say all these distances are computed from this central pixel, and this is because central pixel has value 0. That means we are computing the value with respect to it. So the value of central pixel with respect to it itself is 0, and then all other values that you see here, they are from the central pixel, right? So now you see you get a value 1 here, value 1 here, right? Value 1 here, and value 1 here. If you just join them together, let's say like this, okay. Can you tell me what is the shape we are getting here? It looks like a rhombus, or maybe you can say like a diamond, okay? But in true sense, it is rhombus or a diamond when you are talking about Euclidean distance. But in terms of the city block distance, in fact, this is a circle. Because what is the definition of the circle? In circle, the distance of any point from the center is same. So if you see here, this point, it has distance 1, this point also distance 1, this point also distance 1, this point also distance 1. So it is looking like a rhombus, but in fact, in terms of city block distance, this is a circle, because all the points that you are seeing here around, they all are equidistant from the center pixel. Okay. Similarly, you can say that all these pixels, if you join them together here like this, they are also forming a circle. It is a rhombus or it is a diamond only when you are talking about the Euclidean distance. Okay, exactly here, if you talk about chessboard distance, and if you see the points which are equidistant from the central pixel, they make a square. But again, this is again a circle in terms of chessboard distance. It is a square when we are talking about Euclidean distance. Okay, and similarly, you can see this example again. This makes a square. It looks like a square, but it is a circle if you are defining our distances based on chessboard distance. Okay, fine. Now let us move to a new topic, quadratic form distance. We started this in the last class. Now let us again revisit it from the beginning. So this was the formula for the quadratic form distance. If you compare this formula, from Euclidean distance, you will find that this term A that you are seeing here is extra. If you remove this term A, this formula is exactly the formula of the Euclidean distance. Only there's another difference. You can see that here, in place of writing those individual features, we have represented represented all the features in terms of a feature vector. So here X represents all the features. So X is not a scalar, it is a feature vector of k dimension. Similarly, Y is also a feature vector of k dimension. And similarly here also X and Y, they are feature vectors of k dimension. So if you just remove A from here, and you assume that these feature vectors X and Y, they are representing X1, X2, X3, Y1, Y2, Y3, and so on, Xk and Yk, k values in each feature vector. And if you just put that value here, you'll find that this formula will be nothing but the formula of the Euclidean distance. Okay. So in quadratic form distance, we have introduced this term A, and later we'll see that this will be a kind of weight matrix. Sometimes quadratic form distance is also called crossbind distance. And the reason is that we'll see that mostly this is used to compare the histograms. And if you have little idea about the histogram, in the histogram we define bins, and whatever property or whatever quantity we are going to define in terms of histogram, this is in terms of various bins. So that is why we borrow the name from there, and it becomes the crossbind distance. Okay. The another difference here is that in case of all the distance measures that we have discussed, whether it's a city block distance or Euclidean distance or any chessboard distance, whenever we have computed the differences, we have computed differences only with respect to same feature, right? When x1 was subtracted with x1, y1 was subtracted with x1 was subtracted with y1, x2 was subtracted to y2, and so on. But in this case, we are also going to consider cross dependencies. That means whatever difference we are going to get in first dimension, we will also associate this with the other dimensions, right? So that we mean here by cross dependencies. We'll see this in more detail later. And as I said, this distance measure can be actually used to compare the histograms. We'll see the example in the subsequent slides. Let us elaborate a little more on this formula. So this was the formula that we discussed in the previous slide. Now, if we just replace these x and y, as I said that they are vectors, if you just replace them by the values x1, x2, x3, xk, y1, y2, y3, yk, then and if you open all that, you will find that this formula will become like this, right? And the value of A also, the matrix A, which will be a matrix of size k cross k, that is also represented in terms of individual values here. So Aij actually tells you the value of that matrix at ith row and jth column. Okay. Now let us try to understand this with the help of this example. So here, let's say we have a 2D case where we have vector x here represented using x1, x2, vector y is represented using y1, y2, and A is a 2 cross 2 matrix because these vectors are of 2 dimensions. So matrix A will be k cross k and k is 2 here. So matrix will be k cross k. So 2 cross 2 here. Now, if you keep all these values in the formula that we have here, so it is you are going to get here x1 minus y1, x2 minus y2, which are the differences that you are going to get when you subtract x into y, or you can say y into x. So when you calculate x minus y, you get x1 minus y1, x2 minus y2, and those values you have kept here, right? So this is a vector again. What is the dimension of this vector? It is a 1 cross 2 vector, 1 row, 2 columns. Okay. Similar, and in place of this A here, you have kept this matrix A. So now this A has come here. And in place of this x minus y, again you have kept those subtracted values, x1 minus y1 and x2 minus y2. In this case, you see a row vector. In this case, you see a column vector. The reason is, the difference is coming just because you have a transpose here. Since you are talking about a transpose of the first vector, after subtraction, we have taken the transpose. So that is why you see a row vector here and no transpose here, so this is a column vector. Now, if you just do little mathematics on this and then just open all this, multiply the vectors and these matrices, finally you will see this. Now, let us try to analyze this with respect to the Euclidean distance. So, what you get in Euclidean distance? You only get x1 minus y1 whole square term and x2 minus y2 whole square term, right? A11 and A22 are not there. These weights are not there. This is one difference you can say. But the second major difference is that this term is not there. Right? These two terms you will not get there. Now, when you are introducing these two terms here, how it is helping us? So, if you just see what we are doing here, we are actually subtracting x1. We are multiplying basically x1 minus y1 to x2 minus y2. Okay. So, idea here is that suppose x1, the first feature, which is basically representing x1 minus y1 here, if let's say first feature is similar to second feature. Okay. So you will find that there will be a correlation between them. Since they are similar, when first feature changes, or first feature has a low value, second feature will also have a low value. If the first feature has high value, second feature will also have a low value, high value. So if the two features that we are going to combine here, they are, let's say, related to each other, then when we are multiplying their values, since they are correlated, it is you will get a good correlation or good value here if they share the similar property. So what is the idea of computing the distance between the two vectors? Idea is to find out how similar they are. So now if you find that I mean, the features X1, the first feature and the second feature, they are also correlated. So now, if you take the product of them, or if you associate them with each other, this is also going to help you in computing the similarity value. Okay. So since we are assuming that the two features are correlated, we are just trying to get the information from that correlation, and we are using that also in the computation of the distance. Okay. Now, another component that is important here is this these weights A11, A12, A21, A22, and so on. Now, A11 and A22, they are not that important, though they are also important. But A11 and A22 is defining the weights for a particular feature. Okay. But A12 and A21, they are defining the weights when you are associating those features. Right. So depending upon how the two features that you are associating, how they are close to each other, or how much they are related to each other, based on that, actually you can give less or more weight. Suppose two features that you are going to combine, they are very much related. Then in that case, we would like to give more weights for these weight values, A12 and A21. If they are not very related, then we will try to give less value. Why less or more value? Because if they are related, then only they are going to be useful. So then we should give more importance to them. If they are not related or they are less related, then we should give less importance to them. So that is why we will define the weights A12 or A21, or in general other weights when you are associating the two features, based on how important how important that association is, or how much the two features that you are going to associate, they are related to each other. Okay, we'll see the example, then the things will become more clear. So as I just said, that this matrix A, it is going to be a K cross K matrix, and sometimes we call this matrix as similarity matrix, or sometimes we call it as the matrix as a weight matrix. And any value Aij that you see here represents the similarity between the weight for the weight when you are associating feature I with feature J, or when you are associating the dimension I of one feature to dimension J of the another feature vector. Okay, and this A matrix is a positive semi-definite matrix, and this criteria is required if you want the distances to be greater than or equal to 0. In that case, this matrix A need to be positive semi-definite. So if we can say that the A is positive semi-definite matrix, then we can with surety we can say that the distances that you are going to get will be greater than or equal to 0. Okay. Now let us see one example here. So and here we are trying to understand how to assign the weights. Okay. So let us assume we define a histogram using bins. I'm just giving a very simplified representation of the histogram. So let's say these are 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the bins of the histogram. And you are representing two feature vectors in terms of the values that you are going to get from these bins. So what is the dimension of this? What is how many bins you have here? 4. So you can say that this 4-dimensional histogram is going to give you a 4-dimensional feature vector. Okay, you don't need to worry much about the histogram. If you don't have any idea, you can just assume that this is going to be a simple feature vector of 4 values or 4 dimensions. Okay, later when we discuss the histogram, it will be clear. So let us assume that this is a histogram of 4 bins, or in a simple, in simple terms, you can say that this is going to be a feature vector of 4 dimensions. Now, when you are, let's say, associating this feature with this feature, since they are neighboring to each other, we will give them more weightage. We'll see here, and this we are going to say here, because in the histogram, neighboring bins will be actually representing similar kind of information. Immediately also we are going to see one example. So up to some extent this will be more clear from there. But here you assume that when you are getting some information from here and the other information from the neighboring bin, they will be similar to each other. But as you go away from one bin to the other bins, as you move away, the relationship will be little less, right? The similarity that you will find, let's say, between this bin and this bin will be more, but if you find the similarity between this bin and this bin, it will be slightly less. If you compare this bin with this bin, it will be still less. Okay, so we want to find, we want to give, we want to define this, these weight values here with the help of these distances. Okay, now how to compute these distances? If you have the bin indices of these bins, you will just subtract those values, you will get the you will get that value, right? So in Cij, the distance between, let's say, first two, you can define the C12, C13, C14 like that. And what is going to be the maximum here? Maximum is going to be the maximum distance. So maximum distance is in this case 3, right? If you compare the distance from first to the last, it is going to be 3. And what is going to be the Cij value? Cij, let's say with respect to 1, C12 is going to be 1, C13 is going to be 2, C14 is going to be 2. So if you keep all these values here, let's say try to compute the value of A12. So for A12, what will be the value of C11? What is the value of C11? It is 1, right? I'm sorry. The value of C12. So this is going to be 1. You just subtract the indices of these values. So this is going to be 1 here. In case of, so this C12 will be nothing but, A12 is going to be nothing but 1 minus C11. C11 is going to be 1 divided by C max, which is 3 here. Okay. Similarly, if you compute A13, what is going to be value of A13? This is going to be 1 minus 2 by 3. Right. Similarly, if you compute A14, this is going to be 1 minus 3 by 3. Right. So according to this formula, you see that we give the highest importance to A12 because this is the highest value you get here. Right. If you just check this, next highest is this one. This value is 0. So that means the farthest one gets this 0 credit or 0 weight. And as you move closer to the bin which is under consideration at this moment, the weight increases. Okay. So this is one way of computing the weights when we are talking about the histograms. Okay, and I'm saying histogram because we are giving more weightage to the neighboring bins. This may not be true in a general case. If you have a general feature vector of k dimension, feature f1 might be related to any other feature. But here we are saying that f1 is more related to f2, little less related to f3, so on, because neighboring bins have the similar properties. As you move away, the property actually, the similarity goes down. Okay. Fine. Here, if this A becomes, matrix A becomes the identity matrix, then you will see that this formula will be nothing but the formula of Euclidean distance. If A becomes a diagonal matrix, you can assume a diagonal matrix here and then see, you can multiply, like you can go to this previous example, you can assume that the diagonal values are some weights. So you have only the diagonal values in the matrix, other off-diagonal elements are 0, then you will find that this formula will become the formula for the weighted Euclidean distance. Okay, and quadratic form distance will be a metric distance provided A is a positive definite matrix. Okay, fine. So with the help of quadratic form distance, you can define the Euclidean distance, as we say, as we just saw here. With the help of that, you can also define the weighted Euclidean distance, which is a little more flexible compared to Euclidean distance. And then in general, the formula defines the quadratic form distance. Okay. Now let us try to, okay, fine. So using these distance measures, if you try to, let's say, represent circle, you will find that in Euclidean case, the circle will look like this. But in case of weighted Euclidean distance, your circle will look like this. Okay, so and which is called iso-oriented ellipsoid. And in case of quadratic form distance, your circle will look like this. Why it is looking like this here in case of weighted Euclidean distance? Because we are saying that one dimension has more importance, another dimension has less importance, or one dimension has more weight, other dimension has less weight. In this case, all the dimensions have the same importance, same weight. So that is why it is, it looks like a circle here, complete circle. Here it looks like an ellipse because one dimension has more weight, other has less weight. Okay. Right. Now let us try to understand again this quadratic form distance with the help of histogram. So in histogram, let us say we are talking about histogram of an image. So in a simple term, you can say that a histogram collects from your image how many pixels. Let's say your image has these many different colors that you see here. Let's say red, yellow, and little dark yellow, you can say light yellow, and so on. You have some different colors, D different colors that you have in your image. So from here to here, you are representing D different colors. Now, histogram of any image which has these many colors simply mean count the number of pixels which have this color and put it here. Count the number of pixels in your image which have this color and put it here. Similarly, the number of pixels which have, let's say, the yellow color, you can keep them here, and so on. So suppose your image has 10 pixels of red color, so the 10 value goes here. If it has 20 pixels with this color, so 20 goes here. If you have, let's say, 15 pixels with this color, then 15 goes here. Now you see this histogram, you find that the two neighboring bins are having quite similar property. Like here, it is yellow, and this is little dark yellow. And if you compare this color and this color, they are also quite similar. Okay, but if you, let's say, keep reducing or keep changing the color here and try to compare this color with this color, you will find that they will be very different. Okay, so that is why in the previous slide we said that when we are combining the information obtained from the two bins, if the bins are close by, we give more importance to that, and as we move away from a particular bin, the association gets lesser and lesser importance. Okay, and this is true for any bin. So, for example, you are associating information from this bin with all other bins. So, as you move away from this bin here, the weight change. But suppose you are talking about some bin here. So, with respect to this bin will have the highest importance. This bin will have the highest importance. But as you move away in this direction or in this direction, the weight will reduce. Okay. Fine. So in case of Euclidean distance, as we discussed, we are comparing the difference between the respective bins or respective features. But in case of quadratic form distance here, we are not only computing the differences with respect to respective bins, but we are also associating the difference that we get from a particular bin to the difference that we are going to get from the other bins. Okay, so that is why you see these arrows are also associating this particular bin here with all other bins that you see here. Okay, and the question comes how to compute the similarity weights in this case. So as we discussed in the previous slide, this weight here can be defined with the help of the bin distance. How you calculate the bin distance? It is calculated by just subtracting the indices of the bins. Okay, so let's say Dij represents the distance between bin I and bin j. So if you go back to the previous discussion and see, we found that there the weight was decreasing as the distance was increasing. So in some sense, you can say that weight was inversely proportional to D. Okay. Now, in more sophisticated way, we are defining that D like this here, where we are saying that, the weight here like this, where we are saying that Aij is e to the power minus sigma Dij, which is nothing but, you can say it is equal to 1 minus e to the power sigma Dij. So, when Dij increases, this denominator will increase, so the overall value will decrease. So exactly, you are getting the same effect here also. And here we are introducing one more constant, is this sigma. And with the help of this sigma, you can actually, play with the weights. You can assign less sigma or more sigma, and depending upon your requirement, and you can have suitable weights, right? So just we have introduced this sigma so that we can have more control over the weights when we are defining them. So this was all about quadratic form distance.